here this morning trying to get this done before it gets super hot. We are going to dig our potatoes today. And I know I've been preaching to y'all for a while about the importance of feeding your plants and watering and all those things. Well, these potatoes have definitely had good water. We've had lots of rain this spring. And today we are going to see the evidence of that, I hope. I really have no idea what this harvest is gonna look like under here, but these plants have definitely been fed, and not by anything I bought, but by natural fertilizer that our cows produced, if you know what I mean. We actually took compost that we had pushed up in a pile out in our cow pasture and piled this up last year. We grew potatoes in it in a mound, and then we used our tiller hiller, which you can check a video out on that, and mounded it back up and planted it in it this year. And guys, this is basically free food because these are potatoes we grew last year and harvested last spring that have basically shriveled up to almost nothing and sprouted, and then we just stuck them in the ground, whole potatoes. I didn't do any cutting, I didn't do any liming, I didn't do any waiting on them to cure or anything. I just stuck them in the ground. Couldn't be easier. And sometimes there's a time for all those things, but sometimes there's a time too, if you're in a hurry and it's just not your year, which it hasn't been my year, to just get something planted and get a harvest out of it. So we're gonna see how this goes. This has been very minimal work, and we're gonna see the results. So let's get started. I encourage you guys to gather even these little ones. For one, these are expensive at the store. They've started calling these creamer potatoes. You can see them in bags that are these tiny potatoes. They're basically new potatoes, and people leave a lot of these laying on the ground. I've been guilty of it before myself. Also, these tiny potatoes could potentially be next year's food security, next year's crop. These are the ones that if we don't get eaten that sprout that I plant, and these grow all that we are harvesting on days like today. So don't leave these laying in the field. A few of them are fine, but I would encourage you to gather as many as you can. Pick up round 2. I encourage you, if you are digging with a plow, to always go through it 2 or 3 times, picking up potatoes each time. Look how many came up on the second pass that we would have missed. So just go through it a few times. Your plow, if it's like ours, which is just kind of an old plow, it's not anything fancy, will kind of move around, and so you'll have to come back through and make sure that you're hitting all the places it might have buried the potatoes before. All right, we are done. That took about an hour start to finish. Not bad. I want to mention one more thing. If you don't want to pick up every little small potato, we are in zone 7B, so this may vary by zone, but we can actually just leave some of these new potatoes in the ground, and then our row will sprout back and we can grow a crop of fall potatoes. So that's really easy food to grow. Who doesn't love potatoes? French fries, mashed potatoes, all the things potato. And a side note is fall potatoes here for us are way easier to grow than spring potatoes. Way less bugs, way less just weeding and maintenance. It just, as the summer starts to get to midsummer and after, our weed problem goes down and down because we start having a lot of dry days. So you may have to water the actual potatoes, but if you don't water everything else around it, you'll have way less weeds in a fall crop. So that's an option. If you don't pick up all the little ones, just let them sprout back. So we got about 175 pounds of potatoes in less than an hour. Little to no work really, because these were just scraps from last year. And they're picked up, they're ready to be stored. And that was only on about a 50-foot row. So that shows you how good a production potatoes are. They're one of the easiest crops we grow. All right. One last final step to this video that I really want to tell you guys about. This is super important in growing potatoes. So last year we took our potatoes, we took them in, we put them in our garage, which actually has a little window unit air conditioner in it. It's insulated, so it doesn't get super hot in there in the summer, but it does have light in there. We have overhead lights and things. And that was literally the downfall of our potatoes last year. We lost most all of them. That's one reason I had so many to plant this year, and I just tried it as an experiment because they all turned green. So the ideal conditions for storing potatoes are a cool, dark place with good air circulation and high humidity. So it was cool. We had high humidity, we had good air circulation, but it wasn't dark. It was actually very light in there. If you want to get really technical to store potatoes for a long period of time, it needs to be dark. It needs to be 40 to 45 degrees Fahrenheit and 90 to 95% relative humidity. So we can't meet that here. We don't have like the perfect conditions, but we stored them for years in this outbuilding. It's kind of dark. It's kind of dingy out here, but it is the perfect place for storing potatoes. This was an old dairy barn. You can see probably cobwebs and everything behind me, but it does a great job of storing potatoes. We built racks out here that have screens on them, and honestly, I put them in the garage last year simply out of laziness because I didn't want to walk out here. It's not that far, and I learned my lesson, so I am going to be storing them out here. I'll be turning the lights off in here, and I'll just walk out here and get a bucket of them at a time, just like I would go to the store and buy a bag of them at a time, take those in the house. When I use those, replenish. So I've learned a lesson. Don't take a shortcut because it could cost you big. That's it. Another summer job complete. I hope you learned something about growing and harvesting and storing potatoes. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching, and God bless.